Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the class. Today, we will start a new chapter in the book 2, that is development. This is the chapter regarding the third challenge which India was facing at the time of independence. In the previous two chapters, we have discussed about the first two challenges. That is, the first challenge was the challenge of nation building, which was discussed in the first chapter. And in the second chapter, we have discussed the challenge of setting up of democracy. And now the country was facing another challenge, and that was the challenge of economic development. Because during colonial rule, we have experienced so much economic exploitation by the British that after getting independence, it became one of the prime it became one of the prime responsibility of the government to bring economic growth and development in the country. And in this regard, we will see how our leaders adopted the a new model of economy that was called mixed economy. And then planned development was the most important feature of our economic development. And in this page, you can see there are pictures of various stamps, and these stamps are depicting the economic development, the process of economic development, which was started in India through the planning commission. You can see the pictures of various dams are there, then Indian Railway is there, then factory units of different factories are there. So all these are indicating that India is moving on the path of economic development. So now, first of all, we will try to understand the meaning of development, because development is not something which is same for all the people. The concept of development, the idea of development is different for different people. It depends on the situation, it depends on the circumstances, uh, that the development priority differs from people to people. In this context, we will see this example of Odisha. Odisha is one of the states of India in which there is uh, largest reserve of untapped iron ore is present in Odisha. So, and iron ore is very important for industries. So, what happened that the state government always tries to achieve the goal of economic development, and for this purpose, the Odisha government has signed one memorandum of understanding with both international and domestic steel makers. Okay. So the government, why this memorandum of understanding was signed by the government, by the Odisha government with the international and domestic steelmakers, because it was the view of the government that if the international steelmakers will come to Odisha, and they will start mining, and they will set up the factory at the state, then it will bring capital investment. And not only this, but it will also generate employment opportunities for the people. So the Odisha government is of the view that the international and domestic steel makers must reach Odisha. They must use the coal reserve of untapped coal reserve of Odisha, and they must set up their unit in Odisha, so that the capital flow will be increased, and the employment will also be generated. So, in the view of Odisha government, this is development. It is whatever is doing, whatever is done by the Odisha government, it is doing for the purpose of development only. Okay. Now, the problem area. What is the problem area? Is that the iron ore resources are lying in those areas which are predominantly tribal areas of the state, which the iron ore resources are found there, which in which place the tribal population is living. So now, tribal population is not in favor of this memorandum of understanding. They want that this memorandum of understanding must be cancelled. Why? Because they are of the opinion, they have the fear that if industries, if international companies and domestic companies come to Odisha and they start mining and setting up the industries, then what will happen? That the tribal people will have to be displaced from their home, because their home was in the those in their home was in those areas which were the uh, which were having the mining, which were having the coal reserve. So they have fear that they will have to face displacement, and because of this displacement they will lose their home and livelihood. So they are opposing this memorandum of understanding between the state government and the international company. Like you can see here, it is excerpt of newspaper Hindu. In this, we see that people facing displacement by the proposed POSCO India steel plant in Jagatsinghpur district staged a demonstration outside the Korean company's office here on Thursday. So, the international company with which the government of Odisha has signed this memorandum of understanding, that international company was a Korean company, and the name of the company was uh, mm, POSCO in India, and people belonging to tribal areas were started their demonstration outside the Korean company's office, which is in Bhubaneswar. And people were demanding that the memorandum of understanding must be cancelled. And more than 100 men and women from the Gram Panchayats of Rinkia, Nuagaon, and Gatak Junga tried to enter the office premises, but the police prevented them. So, all these three Gram Panchayats which have been mentioned here, all these belong to tribal population. So, these people are protesting against the MOU, and they are trying to enter the office premises of the Korean company. But the police was there, and the police prevented them from entering the office premise of the company. And the people were raising slogans. They were the protesters said the company should not be allowed to set up its plant at the cost of their lives and livelihood. So that, and this demonstration was organized by Rashtriya Yuva Sangathan and the Nav Nirman Samiti. So this is the kind of protest which was going on in Odisha, because people, especially the tribal people, are against this kind of mining activity, and they are also against the setting up of factories and industrial units in the state, because it will cause them displacement, and with this they will lose their living place, they will lose their livelihood also. Now, the third party is also involved in this process, and that party is of environmentalist. Now, the environmentalists are also saying that the mining and industry would pollute the environment, because for the purpose of mining, what is done? Deforestation is to be done, and this deforestation causes pollution, and because of mining, the quality the soil is also become useless. So the environmentalists are also against this mining and industry. Okay, so then central government is also there, because central government is of the opinion that if it does not allow the Korean company, then what happened? It would set a bad example, and mm, different companies, the MNCs, the multinational companies, which are um, operating in different countries, uh, they will be discouraged from making investment in India, because they will feel that in spite of signing the memorandum of understanding, the government has not allowed us to set up the factory because of the protest by the people. So it will set a bad example. It will discourage the investment of money from the foreign companies. So we can see that these four groups, we can say it groups, are involved in this activity. The state government is there, which has signed the MOU with the Korean company, and the state government has signed because it is of the opinion that it will bring capital investment and it also provide employment opportunities. So any country can become successful, can become economically developed only by capital investment and employment opportunity. So we can say that the state government is thinking in right direction. Now we will see that these tribal people are also there, and they are against the activity of mining and setting up of industry, because uh, they fear displacement, and because of displacement they will lose their home and livelihood. So these are the problems. Now there are environmentalists also, and these environmentalists are of the opinion that mining and industry would pollute the environment. So they are against this process. And then central government is also there, and it is of the opinion that if it does not allow the company to set up its unit in Odisha, then it will set a bad example and it discourages investment. So these are the four different views. One incident is there, signing of MOU with the signing of MOU between the Odisha government and the Korean company. And because of this incident, four different group of people are having different opinion, and all the opinion are related to development. The state government is thinking only regarding the economic development, as well as the central government, the state government as well as the central government. Both are having concern only for the economic development. The tribals are considering uh, the development, the tribals are considering their problems, and for them, this idea of development is harmful for them, because of this idea of development, they will lose their living place as well as livelihood. And then environmentalists are there who are thinking that this process of development is detrimental for the environment. So we can see that so many different interests are involved. Okay, and we cannot, in such a situation, it is not possible for the government to reach to such a decision that all the parties, all the interested groups can be satisfied in the same manner. It is not possible to satisfy all the group by taking a decision in this regard. So, very important is this, that how to deal such a situation. In this context, we must remember some facts. The first important thing is that the question regarding the development, the regarding the idea of development, cannot be answered by an expert. We cannot think that an expert of this economy can solve all the situation. No, this is not the case. An expert cannot solve the problem because the expert is having only the specialized knowledge. He is not having the generalized knowledge. He is having the knowledge of only one aspect of life, and that is economic aspect. Okay, so whenever a decision is going to be taken, what is how the decision should be taken? In order to take a proper decision, in order to take a balanced decision, what is required that there must be weighing the interest of one social group against another group. If the government takes a particular decision, then how it will be harmful for a particular group and how it will be beneficial for a particular group. So, this weighing of the interest of one social group against another must be done. किसको कितना फायदा होगा, किसको नुकसान होगा, all these things must be considered before taking any final decisions. Then when we are going to take decision, it is also important that this should also be taken into consideration that by this decision, uh, how the present generation is going to be benefited and what are we doing for our future generation. This decision of development can prove detrimental for the existence of future generation. So these are the major concerns which must be there whenever a final decision regarding development is going to make. So such decisions are needed to be taken by the people themselves because we are in a democracy, and when we are talking about development in a democracy, then all the decisions regarding development must be taken by the people. But people are not we are not having a direct democracy, so people are not involved in the decision making directly. So who will take decision? The decision will be taken by the representatives of the people on behalf of the people. But whenever a decision is going to be taken by the political leaders, they must take advice from expert. The expert of mining must give their advice to the ministers. The expert of environment, that is environmentalist, must give their opinion कि अगर सरकार ने decision लेती है, अगर government is going to take this decision, अगर government is going to allow this company to set up its unit in Odisha, then what will be the impact of that decision on the environment of the region? Okay, then the government must take opinion from the economist also. Whatever is going to be done, how it will help the economy to grow. So, advice will be taken from the experts, but the final decision will be taken by the political leaders only. Their final decision must be a political decision, because the political leaders, the representatives of the people, they are not specialized people. They are having generalized knowledge. Uh, um, they are having the understanding of the feelings of the people. They know the feelings of the people. They know the needs of the people. They know the interests of the people. So they are more able to take a decision which will be in the larger interest of the people. So there can never a decision can never be taken by the government which can satisfy all the groups in equal manner. That is practically impossible. Whenever whatever decision is being taken by the government, there will be disagreement. There will be dissatisfaction by a particular group, one group, two group. There will be there. And there will be dissatisfaction. There will be resentment. There will be protest by the people. But the effort of the government should be that the larger number of people should be made satisfied by the decision of the government. So, final decision is taken by the political leaders, and in taking this decision, they must take the ex- uh, views of the expert, advice of the experts. So, when we got independence, we have a challenge of economic development in front of us. And in those days, the government had to make so many major decisions like this. The situation which we were discussing right now in regarding Odisha, how the government has signed the MOU and then what happened. So, in the early years of independence, our government has to face such situation so many times. Each of these decisions could not be made independent of other such decisions. All the decisions have their impact on the other decision. So, what is important that all these decisions should be taken in such a way that they are there to fulfill a vision or model of economic development. So, first of all, what is required? The first requirement is that we must have a model of economic development. Then, according to that model of economic development, we should take decisions which is suitable for that model of economic development. So in India, when India became independent, we have the need of economic development. We were in need of very high economic growth and development, but this economic growth should come with social and economic justice. We cannot ignore the interest of the poor section of our society. We need to we need to take such decisions. We need to adopt such models which will not only bring economic growth, which will not only bring economic development, but which will be based on the social and economic justice. And because of this view that economic growth must come with social and economic justice, our leaders were knowing that they cannot leave the matter of economy in the hands of businessmen, industrialists, and farmers only. There was need of the government to play a dominant role, because if our aim was only to have economic development, then it can be left in the hands of the industrialists and businessmen and farmers. But uh, we have the purpose of bringing economic growth with social and economic justice. So, in order to uh, in order to achieve this social and economic justice, there was need of the state intervention. There was need of the role of the government in the economy. But uh, mm, everyone was knowing that in India, in free India, the government must play a key role in the economy. But there was not agreement regarding the kind of role that the government should play in bringing growth with justice. So, what kind of role we are expecting from the government? What kind of role are we going to assign to the government for bringing growth with justice? So, in order to bring this growth with justice, was it necessary to have a centralized institution to plan for the entire country? क्या हम फ्री इंडिया को क्या इस बात की जरूरत है कि एक सेंट्रलाइज्ड इंस्टीट्यूशन हो जो कि पूरी कंट्री के लिए प्लान करे? Should the government itself run some key industries and business? Some industries must be run by the government or not. So these are the key questions, because everyone was knowing that the government will have to play a role in economy. But what kind of role? People were not knowing. Leaders were not leaders were not having consensus on this kind of role that the government will be assigned. So these were the main questions. Do we need a centralized institution that will plan for the whole country, or should the government itself run some key industries? And how much importance was to be attached to the need of justice if it differed from the requirements of the economic growth? Suppose such a situation arises when the when a particular decision can bring economic growth, but because of that decision, social justice can be harmed. So it was not clear that how much importance should be given to the needs of justice, how much how much importance was needed. So these are the issues. These were the key questions which were obstructing the clarity. Our leaders were not clear about the role of the government, about the kind of role that the government should play in the economy. Each of these questions involved contestation, which has continued ever since. Each of the decisions had political consequences. Most of these issues involved political judgment and required consultation among political parties and approval of the public. That is why we need to study the process of development as a part of the history of politics in India. So, in this way, we see that the process of development, whatever process of development is adopted by the government, is a part of history of politics in India, because whatever decision regarding development is taken, the decision regarding the decision regarding the economic development of the country is being taken by the political leadership, and whatever decision is taken by the political leadership is going to have some political consequences also. It's not that the decision is regarding economic, so it will not have any political consequences. No, every decision will have some political consequences. And in many of the questions regarding development, political judgment will be involved, and it will require consultation among political parties. Whatever political parties, main political parties are existing in the country, there must be consultation among political parties in order to reach to a proper decision, and there is need of approval of the public also. So this is the reason that we are studying this process of development as a part of the history of politics in India. Now we will see this ideas of development. We have seen the example of Odisha, and we can't say that development is the idea of development is same for all. Development has different meaning for different section of the people. Some for some, development is if in case of Odisha, we have seen this. For tribal people, what is the idea of development? The idea of development is that their place of living or their livelihood should not be snatched from them. They should not be displaced. So, for them, the idea of development is that the unit of the factory should not be set up in the Odisha. And if we see from the point of view of environmentalist, then we find that what is the idea of development for these environmentalists is that mining should be not be done there, because mining will cause lot of environmental problems. And in the view of central and state government, what is the idea of development? The idea of development is to um, facilitate the setting up of the unit of Korean company in our country, so that capital flow will increase, so that employment opportunities can be generated. So these are the different ideas of development, and it means different thing for different people. Okay. Now we will discuss the model of development which was adopted by India after getting independence, and this will be discussed in the next class.